Have you guys heard? In Florida, like a lot of conservative states, they want to pass an anti-LGBT law that hurts students. At least that's how the Democrats characterize it. Here's how ABC reports on it. White House denounces Don't Say Gay bill as Florida moves legislation forward. A Florida bill that would limit classroom discussions on sexual orientation and gender identity and encourage parents to sue schools or teachers that engage in these topics continues to move through the State House and Senate. It's being called a Don't Say Gay bill by LGBTQ advocates, who fear that if this bill is signed into law, it could act as a complete ban on the lessons on LGBTQ oppression, history, and discussions about LGBTQ identities. The Florida Senate Education Committee moved the bill forward Tuesday, but it still has to be approved by other Senate committees and the State House before it heads to Governor Ron DeSantis' desk. The Biden administration denounced these efforts as anti-LGBTQI+. Every parent hopes that our leaders will ensure their children's safety, protection, and freedom, the White House said in a statement on Tuesday. Today, conservative politicians in Florida rejected those basic values by advancing legislation that is designed to target and attack the kids who need support the most, LGBTQI+ students, who are already vulnerable to bullying and violence just for being themselves, the statement said. But make no mistake, this is not an isolated action. Across the country, we're seeing Republican leaders take actions to regulate what students can or cannot read, what they can or cannot learn, and most troubling, who they can or cannot be. President Joe Biden also weighed in on Twitter. I want every member of the LGBTQI+ community, especially the kids who will be impacted by this hateful bill, to know that you are loved and accepted just as you are, Biden said in the post. This new legislation sounds horrible, doesn't it? But if you go and actually read either of the bills they've labeled Don't Say Gay bills, you'll find that it's actually a lot different than how the Democrats are characterizing them. This legislation would basically do two things. It would allow parents to know what's going on with their kid at school, and it would stop teachers from encouraging classroom discussions about sexuality, sexual orientation, and gender identities in elementary school. In other words, the Republicans in Florida support this outdated notion that parents should be in control of raising their kids. In this article, after several paragraphs of what Democrats and activists say the bills would do, ABC finally reports what the bills actually say. The two bills in the state legislature, HB 1557 and SB 1834, state that a school district may not encourage classroom discussions about sexual orientation or gender identity in primary grade levels or in a manner that is not age-appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students. That's weird. They didn't report on the part of the legislation that's designed to target and attack gay kids. Why would they leave that part out? Because it doesn't exist. There is nothing anti-gay about this legislation. Floridians, like most of us, don't want some other adults teaching our young children about the birds and the bees. It's just not appropriate. Primary grade level students range in age from 5 to 12 years old. What business does any other adult besides their parents have in discussing sexuality with them? And it wouldn't matter if it was a classroom full of heterosexual children, it's just not appropriate. Of course, after ABC clarified what the bill actually says, which has nothing to do with targeting and attacking LGBT students, they reported what the Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg's husband tweeted about it. This will kill kids at Ron DeSantis. You are purposefully making your state a harder place for LGBTQ kids to survive in. In a national survey at Trevor Project, 42% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered attempting suicide last year. Now they can't talk to their teachers? This is just like the new voting laws in Georgia being called Jim Crow on steroids. Democrats just can't help themselves. They have to make everything life or death. This will kill kids, Ron DeSantis. 6-year-olds need to talk about their sexuality. Even though this bill is talking about primary age students, Mr. Buttigieg cites a survey that was done of young people ages 13 to 24, and he claims that students wouldn't be allowed to talk to their teachers, which just isn't true. All this legislation would do is stop schools from keeping important information away from students' parents, and it would stop teachers from teaching young children about sexuality. If I didn't understand the left, it'd be hard to understand how this is even supposed to be controversial. You know what? Let me turn it around for a second. If you're a proud parent of a young LGBT student, would you want a right-wing, pray the gay away type teacher leading a discussion about sexuality in your kid's classroom? You wouldn't, would you? And that's how we feel. But not just that. Even if LGBT wasn't a thing, parents like me don't want you to talk to my young children about sex. That's not your place. And that's what this legislation is about. Let me raise my kids with the values I want to instill in them, and I'll let you do the same. Now, the reason most Democrats are against bills like these is because they want to instill their values onto our kids. They don't think this legislation in Florida will kill kids, and they don't think it's full of hate that targets gay kids either. They just know that it limits their ability to indoctrinate our kids into their leftist value system. That's why they're making such a big deal about this, and that's the simple truth. Hey guys, thanks for watching. And if you all want to support this channel, check out the links in the description, and let's keep putting some common sense back into the great debate.